Hello, my name is Kevin Cottam, and I am the Move On Coach. I'm very happy to invite you to this introductory webinar of 3 pillars for successful interviews coaching course. This is perhaps one of the most important courses that you could be taking today if you are moving on in positions, if you're moving on in career, and you will have to do interviews. Something that is very difficult and needs often a coach to help you along. If you can answer these 3 questions with a yes, then you are definitely in the right place. So let's move on together. We really are about moving on. All of our lives are about moving on all the time. But now, after COVID and 2 years of lockdown, I think that we're really ready to move on. So, when I was doing my research for my book, The Nomadic Mindset Never Settle for Too Long, Maasai Warrior said to me, "Where we were is not where we are evolving." And I'd like to share with you that if you put the I in there, where I was is not where I am evolving. And that is one of the things that I'd like you to take forward today. And also as you're moving forward, period, as you're moving on, it's about where you were is not where you are. You're moving on now. And that takes a lot of courage. And that courage comes from where am I going to get it? And that courage comes from helping you and guiding you and sometimes daring you. And that's what I do with my clients. I help and I dare and I inspire them to move on to the next place, the better place they would like to be. Now, let me share a little bit about then my life. I started off my life on a very beautiful, big, pristine lake on the west coast of Canada. This was what I would see every morning. It was a logging camp. And in that logging camp, if my parents hadn't decided when I was 5 years old to move on to the big city, I may have had a choice in my life was to stay in the logging camp, chop down trees, and that's what I would do in my life because that's what most of the people did. However, I didn't. We moved to the big city and I became a figure skater as I was going to school. And as I became a figure skater, I worked hard and hard and I prepared and I prepared and I was judged and I had coaches and I had other coaches and I took tests and all sorts of things. And so those were my skill development was constantly on show. I was performing as we all are every day of the work. We are performing. But at some point, then when I reached the Canadian Championship and I became a Canadian champion, I thought that was incredible. However, I had reached the top in some ways, and that was ready for me to move on to other things. And so I moved on in my life, and I went to university, and then I also went and I became a dancer. And as I became a dancer, that again is about preparing, it's a skill. All of these are skills, physical skills, and emotional skills, and performance skills. It's really quite amazing what happens. But again, the audience is judging you. The people that you're auditioning for are judging you, and you need to be your best. And so you need to be prepared and you need to practice. And that's something that is important. So I moved on to New York and I studied dance. And then I eventually moved on to Paris and I danced at the Moulin Rouge. And this is me in the Moulin Rouge. And I was dancing, doing the can-can twice a night, starting at 10 and ending at 2, which was amazing. But why was I there? I was there because of consistency. I was practicing every night. I wanted to build a muscle, a performance muscle that every time I would go on stage, that I would just go into the motion. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what happens with interviews as well, is that unfortunately, you don't get enough practice doing interviews. But if you use your life on an ongoing basis to create interviews as an interview, then you can see it from a very different angle, the way you have conversations, the way you're always looking at things from a very different point of view, but it's practice. On again, and I moved on to bigger projects, and I came back in Canada and I became a choreographer for national, world, and Olympic champions, as well as a coach. And that was very, very exciting. And then ultimately, I was able to, and I had the great opportunity, and this is the Olympics now, is that I was able to choreograph and direct the closing ceremonies for the Olympic Games. Now, again, that was an interview. I had to be interviewed. It was there was a political part of it as well, and there was a part of talent, and there was certainly other parts. And so I was very political in the choice, actually. And my choice was to be with another fellow to co-create this closing ceremonies who lived in Calgary. And so that allowed me to latch on to the success. And he was a very famous Calgarian, and that's where it was, the Olympic Games. But that was part of research, that's part of your champions. And I'll tell you more about that later. And so then I moved on, and I moved on to do bigger projects and bigger figure skating projects. And that was really very exciting. Always doing international choreography and touring shows, multi-million-dollar shows. And I had to choreograph, but at the same time, I had to audition. I had to audition all of my cast, always in these big shows. And I had to look at them not only for their technique, but also for their emotional abilities, their dramatic abilities. I had to look at all of these things and assessing them. And that's what I would assess them on. And so it was, how did they show up to me? What was in my mind, what I wanted? And that's what an interviewer has in mind, what they would like for their company is what do they need? And that was the same for myself, is what did I need? And then from there, I moved on and I became a coach and I started to work in the public sector and the private sector. And it was so exciting. So how did I go from sports to, I just kept to entertainment to private and public sector was quite amazing. I just felt that it was important to move on because of learning and growing. And each one builds your confidence to do so, but it also allows you so much ability to create and also find your brand, and the same time self-discovery, and also watch what other people are wanting as well. So from there, that's what I do. And now I found this other piece, which I do, which is the base of my work, is the nomadic mindset, which is really an agile mindset, which really is about flexibility, the movement of the mind, the movement of soul, body, everything, and being able to move. And that, as what we need to do when we interview, is we need to access everything that we have, not just our skills in our brain and all the things that we've learned, but we need to access the emotions. We need to access who we are and our brand in many ways. And so these are very, very important aspects. So from there, I realized that one of the things that would be great, what I was doing, started to do, was people started to ask me, would you help me prepare for my interviews? And that's how it came about. And I started maybe 6, 7 years ago, and I love it. I love working to pull people out, pull their excellence out, and to be able to see how they can grow into richness and combine all of their knowledge with the questions that are being needed, and for also seeing both sides of the table, the interviewer and the interviewee. Now, what happens though, people have come to me, and these are some of the problems that exist. And these happen with everyone. And I'd just like to share what those are. These are some true ones of what people have asked me or said to me. I don't like talking about myself. What if I don't answer I don't know the answer to the question? I lack confidence. I am not intelligent as others. I do not look good on camera. I'm slow to read questions and come to concrete answers. My voice shakes. I have no success stories to tell. These are things that really happen. And I'm sure that you have other stories of what challenges you. What are the problems? In fact, I would like you to put into your chat box now as to what are some of the problems that you feel that you have, not sure what they really can bring, what they can bring to the company. I get overwhelmed by stress. Very much so. Unsure what they want to hear, overthinking. And some of the real problems, and then there's the pains, the fear. There's a huge fear. Maybe you feel that as well. And the fear is a failure to perform well. Remembering questions, that's a fear. What if I don't remember the question? Appearing stupid. Oh no, I said something really weird. Or not looking good enough, or being underskilled, or getting too emotional, or rambling on and on. These are some of the fears that people have. And maybe this is sufficient for yourself. And in fact, I would like to know, again, what are some of the fears that you have about speaking? I have a fear of being put on the spot. Yes, absolutely. And then we freeze, right? There's that moment of freezing. Yeah. Fear of saying something very silly. Yeah. Not to do myself justice. Yes. Absolutely. That is a real fear. I forget to breathe. Breathing. Fear of not answering the question. Yes. And I would like to share with you what I believe this is also about mindset. We all come with a very different mindset. And this mindset, and I say what Einstein says, is we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used to when we created them. This can be applied exactly to almost everything, but especially in this particular sense around interview preparation, is that we come at it from a certain perspective in our mind, and we continue to use that, whether it's positive or negative, instead of making another choice. And that other choice can be, for example, is to hire a coach to help you. It could be to take a course in it, for one thing, and help you to build confidence. There's all sorts of aspects that you could change your thinking. And this is part of the mindset. And what comes from that is resistance, the resistance to actually excel and to be the best you can be. And that happens with everybody. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I know, Donna, you have stories about that as being a singer in many ways. So there's lots of things in this particular realm. But my promise to you, and I want to bring that promise to you about what I do and what I can help you with, and that is to uniquely equip, upskill, and prepare you with ingredients and techniques to structure, perform, and confidently excel in job interviews, leaving a memorable, lasting impact. That is probably a dream that we all have. And that's what I love to help you with. And that's what I do with my clients. And that's been one of the biggest things in my life and all my life as working from athletes, from young athletes to world and Olympic champions, is pulling out that excellence within, is observing them, observing their movements, observing their physical ideas and seeing their mind going around, and to be able to see them create is observation and listening to them. And then to make good feedback. And that is something that I think is really what I love doing. And that is my purpose, really, to help people to get over where they are to where they want to be so that they can evolve. And just as the quote says at the beginning. And another quote that I think is really great, and that is this one. And I talked about preparation and practice, and that's where we're getting to. And the one important key to success and self-confidence, an important key to self-confidence is preparation. I prepared for this particular webinar. And we all prepared for other things during our day. And preparation is all about practice, practice, practice. And that is one thing that people tend to forget about when they are going for interviews, because they get so installed with fear that it stops them in many ways to show their best light. I have to share with you a few things that some people have said to me about our experiences. And this fellow said his interview coaching on preparation, structure, and narrative was unique and very new to him. It was a real pleasure working with him. And he got nominated for his director position. And with that, he was able to then move on into other. He was able to use these skills, not just for interviews, but also communication, in meetings, in network. So when you get one, you get a whole package of ways that you can use these confidence skills and interviewing skills. And it's a way of shaping your questions, a way of shaping your answers. It's a way of doing all that. And we will continue, we will do that. Another person said, I love these two birds, they're having a chat. Kevin supported my preparation for the interviews, notably in terms of presentation skills, in a very holistic manner. We worked on the message, on the pauses, on the body language, and the credibility of the presentations, being aligned with my values and beliefs. This woman that was with me, she was a head of unit. She became then a director, and then she became a director general at the EU, which is phenomenal. And one of the pieces that got her remembered is about the uniqueness that the other fellow said, is about understanding your branding. Who are you, and what's the uniqueness that you bring? And the uniqueness can come in the way of answering a question. So for example, if a question was like, if you were in a crisis situation in a country and you worked for a large corporation, or if you were working for a delegation, what would you do? And many of the people that answered that question, from what I was told, talked about finance and about all of this and how you would support this financially and deal with it. But what she did was she came at it from a different angle. She says, no, the people are the most important thing. My people, then also the stakeholders, everyone that we're dealing with. That was as important to me. And that's what I would deal with first in the crisis. What happened was she didn't get the directorship that time, but they remembered her again, and she got the next position. So it's about the memory, the impact that you leave. It may not be for the one position that they have in their mind framed, but it may be for something else. So I think we have to think of these things in very different ways, how you do interviews. And I'm very happy to say that in many ways that more than 80% of the people that I've worked with have actually got their position. So I'm very, very chuffed about that. And we've had a good time also. We've laughed a lot. We've spent time thinking about, oh, the mistakes. Oh, no, dear. We'd laugh a lot. And the last one I want to share with you is by rehearsing. This is about practicing. By rehearsing the presentation again and again in a very methodical way and with very useful feedback after each attempt, he helps me to clarify my ideas and gain confidence. So there's words there which are very important. Presentation, again and again, methodical way, feedback, useful feedback, clarity, ideas, and gain confidence. This is part of it. And by having a coach or working in a group can help this confidence be built. I can't say enough about practice. And because people say to me, we're so busy, we can't practice. We're so busy, we can't practice. And then I ask them, well, how important is this interview preparation for you? And how important is this position for you? And if it's not important, then maybe we shouldn't be doing this coaching, because I'm putting my effort into you. And that is what I believe is important. When you come from an area of sports and entertainment, you realize that it's the effort and the positive effort that you put in that you really want it. It's really, really wanted. For example, I wanted to be hired as an assistant, as a learning director on a TV series. And I kept on bugging them, I felt like I was bugging them, phoning the production head, the production manager. She never answered, and she finally got me on the phone. She said, yes, no, I'm going to hire you. You're so tenacious. You really want this. Yes, you're hired. It is about showing that mindset. It's showing the commitment. It's about showing so many different factors of you. And today, what's happening? There's competition. From the American Bureau of Labor in the US, last year, over 19 million plus people left their jobs. In Singapore, they say, Microsoft says, by the end of this year, 49% will have shifted their jobs, quit their jobs, or retrained. And in the Aviva says in the UK, 60% are people will be career changing. So with that, you need to stand up. And how are you going to stand up? You need to show up with everything that you've got. So let's show up. What makes this course different? It's a safety net. First of all, I guarantee you will be well prepared, concise and structured. If you practice, if you don't practice, it's not possible to be that way. I don't believe anyway. And also you get top-notch professional feedback, preparation to performance. We work from that till you perform well. Smaller learning groups or private coaching, whichever you wish. Successful tips on performing either virtually, which is very different than face-to-face. And so there's different skills that are needed. As we all know now, we're being very virtual, what it's like to be in front of a camera. Some people still don't like it, right? Become more confident and skillful, and a research and networking plan. Plus also, as I said earlier, this is very adaptive to learning for all presentations, all types of presentations, working meetings. It's also in negotiation, communications, all of the different things. So let's get into it. There are three pillars that I believe for successful interviews, and they're divided into performance, research, and network. And that's how I divide not only the course, but also whether I'm working independently like in private coaching or now with group coaching. It's always these three areas which are extremely important to have be equipped with and skillful in. The first one, performance. I would like to ask you, how important is structure when answering questions? 10 out of 10. Thanks, Ingrid. Wonderful. 7 out of 10 for Hannah. Of all the people that I have worked with, what comes back most of all from the feedback that they get, they are incredibly structured, that they are able to formulate very fast their answers in a shape and form that is clear and concise and doesn't ramble on and is to a time factor. So one of the things is about structuring. Okay, let us think about performance here. You have the interviewer, which is on the other side of the table. They're coming with a mandate for a position. They have a structure in their mind and they have technical skills that are there. They also need to have other aspects from this person that is on the other side of the table, but they already have in their mind. And it's like a speaker. We always say it's about from the audience point of view. And that's exactly where we are as an interviewee. It's from the audience's point of view. And that is the interviewer. What do they think? It's not what we think. It's about how we present enough and to impact enough to make the position and us saleable to them. It sounds very crass, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's how you go about it, and it can be done very beautifully. And structure is always great for people. Structured answers are vital. Let me just share with you a little bit about structure. And this is something that comes from presentation skills, and so many of you probably know this. When I start to work with somebody, I usually ask them to start with a very keen question, which is often asked in the public and private sector, and it has a variety of variations on it. And that is, what motivates you to take this position? And so I will ask them, the person, what are three things that motivate you to take this position or to have this position? And what people will do is they'll come and they'll tell me, oh, this long, long story, and I have to decipher what is that. Because what I want to hear is them to say 3 points in 3 words. So point 1, 3 words only. Point 2, 3 words only. Point 3, 3 words only. And if you can get it to 1 word, perfect. What did I say? There are 3 points here. There are 3 aspects to 3 pillars. 1 is performance. 2 is network. 2 is research, and 3 is network. That's the 3 things that I'm going to be hearing. Now, what you're doing there is psychologically setting up the person on the other side. Clarity. I get to hear what it is. Now I'm watching a picture of where is this going to happen. I'm waiting for the answer. And if the answer goes all over the place, I'm lost. And when you're lost, you lose patience. You also lose interest. So this is what you have to deal with. So being concise, sharp, and know what those 3 points are, it will help you immensely. And if you structure 3 points, you say in 10 seconds, and if it's a 3-minute answer, then you review that or summarize it at the end. The 3 points, the 3 motivation points are da-da. And in the middle, that's what you talk about, are those 3 points. And you're very clear about those. Point 1, and you talk about it. But structure is extremely important. And I can tell you that when somebody is structured, it becomes so easy to listen to. So easy to listen to. So the other point about performance is face-to-face. It's very different than virtual. They're different animals. The way we present, the way we are structured, the way our bodies are is very different. Recently, in fact, yesterday, I was working with someone and she was this, in the frame as in virtual, she was very close. She didn't use her arms and her head was really leaning forward. And I said, maybe if you sat back and sat up a little bit more and moved your arms a little bit, some freedom, then you also be freer in your presentation. And she was. And she was able to answer them more. Because when your body is tight, then the mind gets tight and the confusion begins and the freezing begins and all sorts of things happen. And then you start getting fearful of it, right? So cut away. Breathing was also said earlier. Breathe, absolutely, in your performance. Breathe. And setting intentions. One thing that I found that people do not do is when they go for their interview, they're not sometimes prepared in the day. So in other words, like a performer, like an athlete, we set our day. And you say, oh no, I'm not going to be able to because I'm working up until the time that I'm going to do that, whichever. No, many of the people that I work with say, I'm going to take the morning off. It's in the early afternoon, and I'm just going to rest. I'm going to do my last preparations. I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to relax myself. It's a setting up on the day of the performance. But before you set up, you need to set your intentions. What is your intention for being during the interview? How do I want to be during this interview? And then the other intention is, how do I want to be after? And I would not raise the bar or change the bar. Decide on those intentions and stick to them. The moment you start to waver is when you start to get a bit mushy and it starts to confuse and everything starts to go off a little bit. As an athlete, I knew that if I started to change a movement, I would freak out because, oh no, now I have to change something. And of course, that's not very adaptable, and you do end up adapting. But the point here I'm getting at is it throws you off a little bit because it's not in the structure and the visualization and the creation that you have created. So structure is extremely important. Virtual is extremely important. Face-to-face is very important, the different animals, and setting intentions. There is much more behind all of this. Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Research. Pillar number 2, research. A friend of mine said that he interviewed somebody for his design company. And I said to him, what was it like in the process of hiring? And he said, generally it's pretty good. But he said, sometimes it's absolutely a waste of my time. A waste of my time. Can you imagine all the work that you do and somebody says it's a waste of my time? Research is one of them. People sometimes don't research the company that they're going to actually be working for, hope to be working for. So my question to you is, why isn't research important? You need to know if you want also to grow with the company. Yes, it needs to be a mutual fit. It means I can see and create rapport and prepare. Ingrid, thank you. And Hannah, you're right. To understand what to ask them. Absolutely. To understand what to ask them, Grant. Thank you. To understand what not to ask. Yes. What I believe here, if we look at it, there's lots of talk, and we can talk a lot about research, and that would come more into the course itself. But I would share with you 3 things that are very important is the company research. A lot of the times, people don't research the fullness of the company. Who are they? Who are the board of directors? Who is the CEO? What is the organogram of the organization or the DG or the institution? Also, they don't understand completely what is the company about, what are the values, and what is the driving force of the organization. Also, what is its profit and loss statement, how much they're making, all of these things. Research your company. My friend said when he had an interview with this one person, she didn't know anything about the company. My friend said, I'm sorry, but You don't know why are you here. You don't even an interest to find out who we are. Also, you need to know with an organization, what are their latest wins and losses, and where are their direction, where are they going to continue to expand, where are they going to evolve to. Also, now it's very important to know what is their sustainability footprint, but not the greenwashing. Is to really research what are they doing sustainability wise, if that's important to you. And it's becoming more and more important for people, if you want to get hired in an organization, or it's not even hired, it's whether you choose to be with that organization. Because today, people are choosing to be with organizations depending on their values, their direction, their purpose, their action globally, human-wise, and all of these different aspects, not about their bottom line necessarily. They want the humanity. And that is what we have seen for COVID has actually shown that, which is incredible. And it's bringing the human back into the factor, because technology is technology. And we can't get into the trap of technology being the only answer. It's the humans that are creating the technology, at least for now. Research is extremely important. It's part of the pie. And I would say it's not the largest part of the pie, but I would say that the largest part is performance, and that's about a half, and this would be a quarter. And then also would be the next pillar, and that is the network. And now I ask you this question: how important is your network? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is your network? Because depending on your position will depend on how important network is then, and your networking. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Yeah, very high, huh? Social media is extremely important today. Depending on the layer in an organization you're in, the level, the roles, and all of this, what is your social media posting? And who are the people you're associating with? And how are you showing up on that? And depending on where you want to go for your position, is then look at your social media. Look and see if it aligns with what potentially they might be looking for. And then if it doesn't, then get rid of those photos, get rid of those posts, because they will have somebody looking through it. And they may not even accept your application simply on that, because somebody has looked it up. And in fact, some of the companies now, the career management and in organizations, they will have somebody that's looking at social media specifically. So be careful of that. And I said to one friend of mine on Instagram, I said, do you really want to put up some of those pictures? And he said, oh, it's just my personal page. I said, yeah, it's your personal page, but you want to go into marketing and also public relations. Do you think that on the other side that the employee would want to see some of those photos, which are body shots and maybe seductive shots? Maybe they do. But the question is, do you want to? And how do you call yourself? Anyway, he changed a lot of that over time, and it's a very much more professional site now. Whether it's personal or what, it's very professional. So I think it's important that we recognize that the social media is huge today. And you need to also ask yourself on your social media, how often have you updated your profiles? Just go and look and see, have you updated your profile, your resume, who you've worked for, who are the networks that you're with, who are the people recommending you? Have you gone and done that? Have you look at it from a very, very big perspective? Have you written any articles, if that's not your thing, but maybe you different types of posts, you're sharing posts and things like that. So all of this is extremely important for your, what they say, brand. At the European Union, I have a profile. People choose me from my profile because they're intrigued by something such as the nomadic mindset. Somebody said to me because it was exotic. I went, oh, I'm exotic. So that's part of my brand now. And someone said that I'm kind of wacky. And I thought that was an accomplishment, that I sounded a bit wacky. And that's why he chose me for a chemistry session. And a variety of other things that I think out of the box. So you need to think about what is that brand? What stands out for you? And that you can access on your network by asking them, people that you have that you honor. That's important. So these are extremely important pieces now that can be very, very vital for you. So there's 3 pillars, right? 3 pillars are performance, research, and network. These are the areas that we would cover definitely within the course, which is three pillars for a successful interviews coaching course. As you can tell, all of you have been either in arts, or you have been in sports, or you have been in some sort of competitive aspect, or you have been in your job, whichever, but you have had some help in skill. You've had teachers, you've had mentors, you've had coaches. And I would hazard to say that you could probably do it on your own, but it's always great to be able to have someone else walk with you. When I was doing my research with the nomadic mindset in Mongolia and Kenya and also Morocco, and also in Namibia, one of the things that was really, really important was to go nomading, was to go walking with the nomads and to watch and to observe them and to be with them and to just listen and to just not have a conversation, to take in the environment. That is what happens in coaching. And that's what I do with my coaching. People have said to me that I walk with them, I bounce with them. And that is because we need to find the journey. We need to find what is inside of you and explore and to go discovering. And that's, you can do it on your own, but as you know, it's probably better to do it with someone. In my life, when I was a competitive skater, to get to the top and to become a champion and to be the best that I could be, I could not do it without coaches. I could not do it without parental support. I could not do it without other support. And my network, it was important. And that's the same for everyone. It's not just sport. It can be transferred all across. All of this knowledge that we have is transferable. All of this can be used in different roles in life or different careers, and whichever. We take it and use it and reshape it and form it. In this particular performance, I would like to share with you the importance of preparation and practice. At one point, my partner and I were doing a move, and I looked her in the eyes and I said, I don't remember what comes next. The same as if you were, I don't know the answer to this question. What happened was, because I had rehearsed and prepared and practiced, all of a sudden it came back. But that was the muscle memory. If we don't have the muscle memory of being able to interview well, or to have communication well, or to be able to be in these situations, it's very difficult to just show up for most of us. Some can do it and just wing it. It's fantastic. But most of us cannot. It's harder for us. What are some of the pillars, the features of this course? So this course is actually 8 hours of group coaching or private coaching, depending on what you want. They're 2-hour sessions. There's inclusion of theory, practice, and that is really great. Not only do you get feedback from me, but you also go into breakouts as well. You get in multiple ingredients and techniques to structure and perform and prepare. So I go into the depths of things, and also things that come up when I'm talking to you or when I'm hearing from you. All of a sudden something pings and I share it. Important. You get direct feedback. The feedback, as one of the clients said, is really important. PDFs you get on different aspects of what I'm teaching you in the technique. The sessions are videoed, so you can look back at them as well. And if you feel that you didn't get enough out of the first time around, you can repeat it for free. Now that's great. You can repeat it for free. And you'll be working in a group coaching session or with a partner, or if you prefer to do it privately, you can do it privately. What are the next steps? So the moving on is, what is the next step? You never stop learning. And if you would like to register for a private chat to see, here is a QR code that you can therefore sign up, and I will schedule a call with you, a private call, because the private call I think is really important. Why? Because I get to know you more. I also get to know what you really need, and I can suggest a little bit more and just offer that to you as to what is it. But let's go nomading together. This was when I was in the Sahara. This is not me. I'm taking the photo of this, but it was when I was in the Sahara in this beautiful dunes. And that's what it was like, going nomading together. And that's what we will do. So I want to thank you very much. This is my LinkedIn contact. If you aren't connected with me on LinkedIn, I would be grateful. And also, in finishing that, I want to thank you very much. And this is the name of my book, The Nomadic Mindset, Never Settle for Too Long, if that interests you at all. I'm very grateful. So I say over to you, Ajaya. And if there's any questions, we will open that up.
The precursor to the interview, it is already tough for us to get interviews after sending our resumes. How do we be impactful in getting that interview?
It is about showing within your CV that is not just point, and it depends on how you do it. It's about sharing the stories of who you are, what you've done, success stories. And again, it's like what I was saying, it's the beginning, middle, and end. You're telling a story, and that can help you to divulge some of that information. And it's about finding your uniqueness in the beginning, is to share, who are you? What are you about? What's important to you? And I think that can start to get you going. Most people are doing their interviews or their CVs and a very sort of point. It needs to be storied.
Yeah, I think that would be very different from how it is over here in Singapore, because I think, right, a lot of things are very structured. So when we go out of that, it gets a little bit off. It kind of throw people off. Yeah.
Yes, I know. They love credentialing here. Everybody loves credentials here in Singapore. More credentials, more credentials, more credentials. It doesn't matter who you are as a person. You can buy credentials.
How many sessions does it take normally to get that position which you want?
The normal is most people have about 6 to 8 sessions with me privately. I also help them on the journey to the assessment center as well. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.